Quorum.
Okay, welcome everybody to our third Youth Commission General Meeting. We will call this meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. Oh. Okay, so first item of the day is the consent calendar. First, we will take a vote for those who approve it. Do we have any motions?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Do we have any seconds?
I second that motion.
Okay, and then we will move to public comment. Do we have any?
You have to do the vote, Deidre.
Oh, all in favor?
Wait, do we have a public comment on that item?
No.
So move to the vote. It should be on your screens. And I would just like to remind the commissioners, when you go to speak or make a motion or a second, to just say your name, your last name for the minutes. All right, so we're gonna take a verbal vote because the technology has decided to not work. So, Chair, if you want to call for a vote.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Any abstentions? All right, then the motion is passed unanimously. We'll be moving on to open forum. Do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on an item that is not on the agenda today?
We have one speaker on Zoom. Jim Addiskin.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. San Jose Public Library, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I'd like to take a moment of silence for the victims in Gaza over there in Israel. It's horrible that the Israeli government's attacking these schools and they attacked the hospital, and they've been attacking Catholic churches. It's horrible what's going on over there. And I wanted to say, have any of you ever heard of the Talmud? It's one of the books that the Judaic faith uses to guide them. It can be found in every synagogue across America and the world. And I welcome you to fact check my claims and consider what you might have previously believed to be wrong. Here's some examples of scripture from the Talmud. Glitton 57a. Jesus is in hell being boiled in hot excrement. Sanhedrin.
Okay, thank you for your comment. I want to remind you of our code of conduct and that public comment must be within the scope of the commission. So moving on and going back, I missed roll call. So we'll be doing that. District 1? Present. District 2?
Present.
District 3, present. District 4?
Present.
District 5 is absent. District 6? Present. District 7?
Present.
District 8?
Present.
District 9?
Present.
District 10?
Present.
And citywide.
Present.
All right, okay, then we'll be moving on to item 5, discussion and action items. First up, we have the Municipal Regional Stormwater National Pollution Discharge Elimination System Permit Status Update by Rajani Nair and Jeffrey Provenzal. Sorry. Can you guys please say your names so I know how to pronounce it correctly?
My name is Regine Nair.
My name is Jeff Provenzano.
Thank you. All right.
Can I go ahead and begin? Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, good evening, Chair and members of the commission. My name is Reggie Nair. I'm the Deputy Director. I oversee our Watershed Protection Division in the Environmental Services Department. Let me go a little quicker here. Okay. This is going backwards. There we go. Okay. All right, so before I begin, I wanted to give a brief explanation about how our sanitary and our storm sewer system is within the city of San Jose. So like most Bay Area cities, with the exception of San Francisco, there are two separate systems. So on this slide, if you look at the top, essentially that's representing the sanitary sewer system. So if you think about like your plumbing, your toilets, your showers, your kitchen sink, it's all actually tied into a sanitary system that's as a series of connected pipes that all discharge into the treatment plant, where it's actually treated water that gets discharged into the bay. The bottom slide is representing the storm sewer system. Now, the storm sewer system does not have a treatment system. There's about 1,700 outfalls that go into our waterways. And the most common ones that you are all familiar with is Guadalupe or Los Gatos Creek or Coyote Creek. And it's very important for the stormwater to be treated because there's all sorts of regulations that are required for us to comply. So I'm going to go into a little bit about where the regulations come from. So the Clean Water Act, the Federal Clean Water Act, was established in 1970s, way before all of you were born, including us, I think. So, and it essentially entitles any agency, any municipality, or any entity that's discharging to these federal waterways to comply. And it's actually a permit, and I'll give you a long acronym. In the environment, there's lots of acronyms. It's the National Pollution Discharge Elimination Systems Permit, and it's short NPDES. And essentially the EPA manages these NPDES permits all throughout the country. However, in California, it's a little bit different. There's a different agency other than the EPA, that's called the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And in that Regional Water Quality Control Board, throughout the state of California, there are 9 regions that all pertain to a different watershed. So here in San Francisco, all the counties that are around the San Francisco Bay Area discharge into what we all know as the Bay. And this particular regional agency is called the San Francisco Regional Water Quality Control Board. And this consists of Santa Clara County, Alameda County, San Mateo, Contra Costa, and Solano counties. So just for your reference, I'm only going to be focusing on a municipal regional municipal regional permit, which is what's shown on the right. And this is all the regulations that are associated to the stormwater system. So what you see here is very detailed requirements, all science-based, that every department, and the city has about 20 departments that manage a lot of things throughout, the organization, and half of those departments actually work on this. And so what's really important is that 180 square miles of San Jose is required for us to ensure that every one of our community, our businesses, and ourselves are ensuring that we're complying with the regulations. And so I'm going to get into a lot more detail as to very specific requirements that are out of this stormwater permit. So the first one, many of you are probably very familiar with. Whenever you see a development occur, they're building a brand new building and they're unearthing a lot of the dirt. What happens is it triggers this particular stormwater permit, because anytime you expose the earth in a certain area, it requires for you to ensure that you're treating the land to its pre-development age. And so What you see here is a list of various categories or various scenarios that occur. And there's a lot of regulations with regards to how a commercial, municipal multi-dwelling unit or a roadway project and family homes. These are new requirements under this stormwater permit that just got adopted July 1st. Sorry, I forgot to mention that, 2022. And so there are very specific requirements, and every one of these things, when you expose the earth and you have a certain square footage, you're required to install what is called a green water stormwater infrastructure. And that's the picture on the bottom right that you see there, or the top two, those are it. And this green infrastructure is essentially an engineered solution to really treat the water that discharges from our roadways to ensure that it restores the water quality before it enters into our storm sewer system and then also into our creeks and so forth. And so just essentially, there's a lot of regulations. That's the bottom line of this, that goes behind the scenes whenever you see any kind of development occur. And one, actually, and just maybe for your interest, the bottom one is actually a very new regulation that is required to build regional facilities throughout every county that I mentioned earlier. And so for San Jose, we're required to build about 5 acres of a site that needs to treat water. And so we're the first city probably in the Bay Area that's going to be building a regional facility. It's the River Oaks Regional Water Quality Regional Site, Stormwater Site. And so that is going to be treating about 200 acres of water. And we're also going to be building another facility right by Coyote Creek. If any of you are familiar with Yerba Buena High School, we're going to be building another one in Coyote Creek that's going to be double the size, about treating 450 acres. And all of these facilities will have an element of education, park, some kind of access to educate the community about the importance of water quality. Oops, sorry. So the next critical aspect, which you're probably all very familiar, is trash that you see on our roadways or anywhere. In San Jose, you know, this permit is very limited to just what we do in San Jose. When you're driving on the highway, that's a different permit that's under Caltrans. Or if you're near a train station, if you see any trash along the train lines, that falls under VTA or any other transit authority. So what I'm explaining to you is only very specific to City of San Jose. And there's 3 major programs that are involved with this. But the biggest thing that is important for us as a city is that we need to ensure that we're complying with the law. The deadline, there's certain milestones we got to achieve this. And so we successfully completed the first one, which was 90%, June 30th of 2023. But we do have a long way to go for the 100%, which is June 30th, 2025. And I started to go into the 3 programs. So the first one that's called the long-term trash plan. And, you know, when you get to do a lot of regulation, there's a lot of, a lot of planning that goes behind it. And this plan really just shows an outline as to how are we going to achieve that 100% by June 30th, 2025. And we submitted that plan. The next program is called the Direct Discharge Program. And this essentially focuses on our waterways. How do we address the trash that is in our waterways? Many of you may be familiar in we have a lot of encampments that live in there, and that's been a strong, a predominant source of trash. There is illegal dumping and so forth. But, you know, we have been doing a lot of extensive work in partnership with other departments on this project, because it's not just dealing with the trash, it's also ensuring that we house our community and ensure that we provide the services they need. So it's a very comprehensive approach to ensure that we're addressing not only the environmental, but also the social aspects of it. And then the last one is a new program that the permit requires, is called the private parcel trash controls. And essentially what that means is that there's about 2,400 properties throughout the city of San Jose that may be potentially impacted by this simply because they are connected to our storm sewer system. And we go through a process to rate these properties that they kind of have a scale of how much trash is on their property, and it's all visually based, and it is it is like throughout the Bay Area. There's a universal way as to how we rate them, so it's not subjective. And if they do generate trash and it enters into our storm drain, they're actually required to install some kind of device to ensure that that trash is not going into our storm sewer system. So the long-term trash plan that I mentioned earlier, that was kind of an outline, that's been going on since 2014. And it's been an extensive effort. You remember that earlier slide that I showed you all these different departments that are involved. They've been always engaged in this process and ensuring how do we reduce the trash that comes into our storm drain and into our sewer pipes that discharge into our creeks. And so what this shows you is just the amount of effort that's involved. And these are all based on a mathematical weighted formula process, and really we're only focused on what trash that goes into the storm inlet that discharges into our system. So it's not, if you see a couch, it's not really including that. It's really what fits into the storm sewer system. But the main thing to just what this demonstrates is that the city has always been a leader in ensuring that we meet compliance. But we can't do this without just building this specific infrastructure. And the two that are very critical are the full trash capture system, which are these huge mechanical or structurally engineered devices that are underground. You don't see them typically. They're quite extensive in size, and it could be a small little device that's in an inlet, or it could be a 4-story building that's underground. And again, you don't see it, but if you've seen a salad spinner, that's kind of what the concept is. It's this huge salad spinner that takes all the trash, and our Department of Transportation is really critical in ensuring that trash gets pulled out. The other piece, the other program, and sorry, I didn't mean engineered program, but it's an on-land trash control measure. That's the other critical piece that is ensuring that we're doing a lot of preventative maintenance to prevent the trash entering into our waterways. And these are programs like collecting the trash from the public litter cans, or adopt a park, or adopt a trail that you may have seen. These activities that our partner departments like Parks and Recreation, Neighborhood Services, or our Planning, Building, Code Enforcement. These are activities that a lot of these departments do that to ensure how do we prevent trash coming into our waterways. And the thing that I wanted to just really highlight, that we couldn't achieve these compliance requirements without these specific credits or offsets, which the stormwater permit allows us. And so you may have seen activities that our nonprofit partners do, like Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful or South Bay Clean Creek Coalition, where and Trash Punks. These are very critical nonprofits that help towards addressing trash in our waterways. And that actually has a regulatory compliance requirement where we get credits, and that's where that creek and shoreline cleanups get in play. And then I mentioned about the direct discharge program. The judicial source controls, these are policies that we implemented to do, like plastic bag bans or prohibit EPS styrofoam. If you all are, you probably see that now. And so these are things that we used to do, but they no longer allow that under the regulatory requirements. So like I mentioned, there's this mathematical formula. You do see math, unfortunately, all the time in my world, but it is good for us to really calculate how are we doing to ensure that we're meeting compliance requirements. And so as you can see, based on this math, I mean, we can't just build these underground structures to collect our trash that are coming through our pipes. And I didn't make this reference. We have about 1,100 miles of storm sewer pipes underground that connect to these 1,700 outfalls. So imagine these salad spinners that are 4-story deep. It's too expensive and it's not practical. Again, these credits are really critical for us to get us, to meet compliance, but they're actually going to go away starting June 2025. And so that's important for us to figure out new programs in order to ensure that we're meeting the regulatory compliance. And so this slide is really illustrating kind of that mathematical equation that I shared in the previous slide. So just to reiterate, that top black line is essentially showing the 90% of what we've achieved this past June. And, it may look small that we only need to get 10% more to get that 100%, but it takes a lot of effort for us as an organization to ensure that we meet this compliance. And so the two programs that I told you about that are really critical is that full trash capture, and then also the on-land trash controls. And as you can see, as we get towards the end, June 2025, and then the permit actually ends June 2027, you see it doesn't really take a lot. It won't make a difference for us to really hit the 100% target. And as the bottom is what's demonstrating when those credits go away, and we really need to think about different programs to ensure how are we going to get to 100%. So I mentioned to you about the private lands, which is demonstrated under that orange line, but that compliance gap, that red, is where we have an opportunity to be creative. So I'd love to hear your feedback as to what are some ideas we can think about in preventing trash entering into our storm sewer system. Moving on, this is another a provision. This, as I mentioned to you, there's, in many of our waterways here in the city of San Jose, we do have a large encampment population that reside in there. And the water board, that the regulatory agency that authors this storm permit, recognize the importance of addressing this issue, because when you think about water quality, it's ensuring that trash and sanitary sewage does not enter into our waterway system. And so these are just very specific requirements for us to develop a plan, prioritize how we're going to address housing for individuals who are experiencing homelessness and living within our waterways. And then ensuring that we understand how many individuals are actually residing in there and really give them the opportunity to provide them the services they need, but ultimately housing, so they can permanently be removed from the waterways. Another provision, which is not very common, but it is prevalent in the Bay Area, is called the polychlorinated biphenyls. It's PCBs. This was a chemical that was built, that was created back in the 1920s, and it was banned. And these are things that these are chemicals that were used in caulking material or for electrical devices back in the day. And it's no longer there, but it's still in existence in our environment. And so this is very important for the water board, for us, as we call ourselves permittees, are required to address the PCBs that enter into our storm sewer system. They're very specific programs, and just in generally what you should get from the slide is on the top right, it just kind of shows like a heat map almost of how much PCBs are prevalent. And you can see that they're pretty strong in the Oakland area or maybe like in Redwood City, but we do have some in San Jose. And in Santa Clara County, we have about 600 acres of what we call old industrial areas that used to have some form of PCBs on their property. And so there's a process that the water board requires us to identify PCBs that are active on the site, or understand what may be around these sites that are getting into our storm sewer system. The reason why this is super important is because it does impact the sensitive habitats, particularly fish, because they, you can identify quickly, how this impacts their lives as well. So, and the last major provision in this stormwater permit is, or last few, firefighting. It's actually very important to really understand the activities of how firefighters discharge water into our storm sewer system. They've no longer used PFAS, but it is important to really understand. And PFAS, I think another form of it could be in Teflon in pots. If any of you do cooking, it's those nonstick pans. I mean, that's a very common use of the chemical in different forms. But this is also very important for firefighters to quickly suspend any kind of fire activity. Well, they found that this is very detrimental to our water quality. And so it has been banned, but it's important to really understand the amount of water. In addition, because water has chlorine in it, which is also very important to protect our waterways and protect our fish that are in there as well. And the last two is just really the water board is important, curious to know how much all this costs. And so we are going to be required to identify how much all these new work is going to entail. And then we're going to need to build an asset management. So it's very important whenever you build something, really understand the life cycle of how much it will cost you to ensure that these are protected. So some of our next steps, essentially, these are major deliverables that we have to do with relation to the direct discharge plan that was associated with protecting our waterways, PCBs, how we're going to manage all the sediment that are discharged from these properties that have PCBs and into our storm sewer system, and then understanding the cost and asset management. Ultimately, we do need to request more funding to address all the compliance requirements. And so I think that it concludes mine and it goes to Jeff.
Good evening. Again, Jeff Provenzano, Deputy Director, Environmental Services Department for Water Resources. I was going to start off on my slides. There's a couple things that we're doing as a city, but I'm going to do a few background slides on where water comes from and what agencies are kind of involved. It plays into the later part of what we're working on. Santa Clara County, we developed using our local groundwater. We have pretty robust supplies, but that's because we have a wholesaler here, Santa Clara Valley Water District, that was formed back in the 30s to take care of that water supply for us. But we can't survive as we live here today on just that groundwater alone. We use too much. So over the past 70 to 80 years, Valley Water has built, in conjunction with the state and federal government, large water infrastructure. And I'll show you on another map to import snow melt from the Sierras here into us here and other areas throughout California. And that is how we developed. And that's important because when we start looking at climate change and climate resiliency and declining snowpack, that is our water supply and our existence. And so the projects that we're going to go through in a bit are kind of how do we adapt to that. And in addition to importing these local supplies, there's also groundwater. I mentioned we have about 1.5 years of groundwater supply in an emergency here in the county. So those imported supplies are extremely important. And we have recycled water. This map, it's kind of, there's a lot there. Really the intent here is to kind of demonstrate the extent of the water canals and water systems that we have here to bring water into the county. If you're traveling to Highway 5 or anywhere in the San Joaquin Valley, you'll cross over these large canals, and there's many, and they are a system of moving water around the state. Another one of our water supplies here, particularly in North San Jose, that'd be in District 4 for us, is the Hetch Hetchy system. This system is managed by San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. And this water system back in the 30s, they dammed up a valley just north of Yosemite and bring the water in here. And it, again, feeds some of the cities that are around the South San Francisco Bay, and then all the cities up the peninsula to San Francisco. And our local one here, this is something that we own at our regional wastewater facility. It's called South Bay Water Recycling. We started this wholesale utility back in the 90s, and its focus there is to produce water at the wastewater treatment plant and distribute it throughout the Tri-Cities, Santa Clara, San Jose, and Milpitas. You'll see a map there of where it goes. It's more concentrated in central and north San Jose, but we do run down into the District 8 area of Evergreen and all the way down into Coyote Valley and the power plant down there. So in addition to the 3 wholesalers, Santa Clara Valley Water District, San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, that's that Hetch Hetchy Water System, and South Bay Water Recycling, there are 3 water retailers serving San Jose. There is San Jose Water Company, and this will be depending upon where you live. San Jose Water Company, you can see there, serves about 80% of San Jose. They are an investor-owned utility. Great Oaks Water Company in South San Jose, that's right along the Santa Teresa corridor. They are a privately owned water company. And there's San Jose Municipal Water System, and we serve both part of District 4 in North San Jose and then primarily District 8 in Southeast San Jose. And we are owned by, it's a public utility, so it's owned by the city of San Jose. So that may be a little bit confusing. Let me go back over it. We have 3 wholesalers and we have 3 water retailers, all serving the community. The water retailers' roles are to buy from the wholesalers, and then we pump water and test it, make sure the water quality is there, fire protection, and distribute it out across all areas of the city. Each of the water retailers are a little bit different. Our rates are a little bit different. Our infrastructure is a little bit different. And so there's a little bit of a disparity there. But our focuses are all the same on buying wholesale water and getting it to homes and businesses. City of San Jose, just relatively because there's so many retailers and wholesalers, as a city has kind of been loosely involved in the water supply discussion. Only really in the past year and a half have we began to really kind of partner up on our own on what can we do to kind of bring major water supply projects forward. And the memo that is going to be going to the Transportation and Environment Committee on November 6th is kind of around these agreements that we have in place. The first one would be between the city of San Jose and San Jose Water Company. That's an investor-owned utility, again, serving about 80% of San Jose. And we have 4 focuses under that agreement. We signed this, by the way, back in like January 2023. We are with San Jose Water Company. They are looking at it, but we're helping to support them, a brackish water desalinization feasibility study. Brackish water, you may have heard of desalinization. Usually it's discussed in ocean water desalinization. This one's a little bit different. It's brackish water. So we're going to take water underneath the bay, kind of deep, about 100 feet under the bay mud, and treat it to drinking water levels and use that as a potential drinking water supply. Size of the facility would range there 10 to 20 million gallons a day. And again, that feasibility study is in progress right now. We haven't yet started looking at it, but something called a deep water discharge, when you are the type of technology for this project and the other ones that we're going to see, it uses a technology called reverse osmosis concentrate. And it's where you take all the bad stuff through very fine pores. You remove the bad stuff from the clean water that you're going to use, but then now you're left over with really concentrated leftover, a reverse osmosis concentrate. And if you were to spill that on the ground, in most cases, that ground is kind of now contaminated, right? So really the focus here is now, what do you do with it? If we're going to generate this nice water supply, what do you do with the byproduct, kind of the hazardous byproduct? How do you dispose of it or use it or get it back into nature in a safe, environmental friendly way? And we haven't started looking at that one. This would be to run a pipe, a pretty deep pipe, all the way out past Dumbarton Bridge to kind of let then that water kind of soak back into the natural waters of the bay. The third one, which we're working on now, is a draft agreement with San Jose Water Company to allow them to expand the recycled water system, their own infrastructure to keep building recycled water infrastructure, primarily focused on schools and parks. Right now, they're kind of focusing in the District 5 area, but allow them to keep doing that over the next 5 to 10 years. And the last one, as part of this agreement, is to partner with them on taking out ornamental turf or non-functional turf in the front of single-family homes and converting to native landscape. The second agreement we have in place right now is between us, the city of San Jose. We also partner with the city of Santa Clara and the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. They're the ones, again, that manage the Hetch Hetchy water system. And for this one, it was really just a single project that we looked at, and this was to do a direct potable reuse facility. This is taking wastewater from our wastewater treatment plant, run it through a series of technology, including reverse osmosis, I mentioned, and turn wastewater into drinking water, and then to kind of figure out how we can potentially take this purified water and add it back into our water supply. Now, it's not legal right now. The state has been working on draft regulations for direct potable reuse for several years, but they're almost done. There's still some revisions here and there, but they're anticipating that these revisions will be done really in the next 6 months to 6 to 8 months. At that point, we'd have pretty solid indication of how to go build these type of projects, but they do take quite a long time, and no one is really doing this yet. There are some water agencies in Southern California that are piloting the technology, but using the water for a different purpose. And so what we teamed up with the city of Santa Clara and the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission on is how could we together build a type of project that would, for all three of us, be kind of a win-win situation where we all get water, both in good times and in bad. The study was completed just recently in August 2023. And then the last agreement that we currently have in place is it's a letter of intent with Valley Water, the Santa Clara Valley Water District. Again, they are the main wholesaler for Santa Clara County. This agreement was also to look at, well, multiple things, but the letter of intent, you can see there had a pretty broad purpose, but we all agree in the letter between entities, and we've coexisted since the beginning of each of us, that we have a respect for water supply needs. We also both want to maximize the beneficial use of treated wastewater, and we want to look for a more resilient and sustainable future. And to that effect, then we are really right now, it's a very broad letter of intent of what we're going to be working on over the next many years. Right now, though, and this is what's in my memo that's going to the Transportation and Environment Committee in November, there's current progress, a feasibility study. Us working with Valley Water, they're going to be conducting a feasibility study on a direct potable reuse, same as what we just looked at with San Francisco, taking that wastewater, turning it into drinking water. And then to also build a demonstration facility. Valley Water would like to build this. It's about a 2-year design project, and we would run it for about 3 years. And there's a lot of things that we can get from both, a lot of benefits we can get from both of these. I had mentioned this, the regulations aren't even final on this type of project. So leading into it, you know, a lot of studies have to be conducted and show that the technology can be used, train people on the technology, because again, this could be, in a way, it's a very sensitive topic. Again, taking wastewater to drinking, want to make sure that we're doing it right, the technology works, everyone's trained, and it's done in a way that absolutely protects public health and safety. And some of the benefits there of this demonstration facility are supporting permitting of a more permanent facility, meeting regulatory compliance. There's a lot of information and data that we don't know because this is a relatively new endeavor. So it'll help us generate kind of data to make better decisions on a more permanent, larger facility. Be able to look at how well the technology holds up, what the replacement costs are, really to kind of get an indication of how expensive it would be, how would we pay for that, and what is the benefit. And of course, the bottom one, public outreach. Now, Valley Water is already doing a lot of outreach on this topic, even though the regulations aren't approved yet, but many, many years of outreach and demonstrating to the public the benefit prior to even proceeding with a project. Now, with all that being said, there are a lot of additional considerations when taking wastewater to drinking water, and I listed some of them here. I won't go over all of them, but there's quite a lot that we need to look at. Water conservation is always a primary focus for all of the wholesalers and the retailers. So you have declining wastewater flows due to water conservation and state laws. Water availability differs throughout the year. We got a lot of wastewater in the wintertime, but not so much in the summer, and not so much in the summer in a drought. In the summer and the drought is when we need the water the most, when there's the least amount of water either in the groundwater basin or to be imported in. And so there's kind of a mismatch on when the water is most available versus when we need it, and vice versa. And so there's a lot there on trying to figure out the right type of facility, the right type of year, how it would work, and then how much wastewater could be available for that facility in that scenario. Some of the other ones too, you may hear about some of this water affordability. Water affordability is expected to double really over the to double in cost. I guess affordability isn't going to double. The cost is going to double over the next 7 years or so, and potentially double again the next 7 years after that. And so affordability, that's cost, and affordability is a major factor for both the wholesalers and the retailers in really making sure that the right projects are picked. And there's a really good financing strategy to offset the costs for businesses and residents. And there's a lot too on other topics like source control, quality of your wastewater. What do you do with that reverse osmosis concentrate? How do you get it back into the environment safely? We got to figure out that one. I mentioned project financing. Where's it going to go? Energy consumption. For all three of these projects, using reverse osmosis concentrate reverse osmosis as a technology to clean the water, very, very high in energy usage. So when we look at, okay, what kind of energy usage? Green energy, of course. Do we have room for solar? Can we purchase other green energy sources? And what is the trade-off and the benefits from an energy consumption perspective? And again, I mentioned public outreach and support. So there's a lot there for us to look at. And with that, I think we'll conclude. Any questions for us?
Hi, so thank you for your incredibly comprehensive presentation. I learned a lot about water that I initially did not know. I did have a few clarifying questions. So going back to the additional considerations that you mentioned, I wanted to know if there was an addition, like an ideal facility or close to ideal inside or outside of the US that follows up on all of those additions.
On the considerations?
Yeah.
No, a lot of those are very focused on our area. There are several wastewater and water agencies in Southern California that are working through some of these and that we can kind of build on. And there's several consultants, of course, that are trying to specialize in this. Is relatively a new topic, and so there is some expertise out there as we go forward that we can rely on to kind of help answer some of these questions. But those just require some time and consideration as we go through.
Thank you. So actually going back, do we have any public comment for this item?
No, we don't. You can go ahead.
All right, then we'll open it up to commissioner discussion.
So I just had a clarifying question. So this is it was a very informative presentation, so thank you for that firstly. But what are some ways that the Youth Commission, as a board, can help with public outreach for this project?
A great question. I wasn't prepared for that one. Let's see here. We'll have to think about that. We're only at the very beginning stages of outreach. And we'd like to maybe come back then in the future. We'll, as we get a little bit further down on what the water is, where it might go. And this could be a couple of years out because it's really, it's like a 10 to 15 year type of project. So a good 5 years of just design and planning and picking it out. But feedback from you all, and then a lot of community engagement on, are you comfortable with it? Where's water going to go? part of the benefit, one of the benefits of that demonstration facility is actually produce a purified water that you can drink, or you can take home and you can sample. And so there's that benefit to really just show that it's kind of safe, that it is safe, excuse me.
I'm not sure if you want to extend that to storm water, but we can totally use your help to help educate the community as to the importance of where they throw their trash. There's lots of ways to throw trash, and not on the curbside and not in the street would be a great option, right? So knowing where to throw things, I think that's a really important education piece. And then also being engaged in our waterways, really understanding the beauty. We're one of the very few cities in California that actually has a very natural habitat. If any of you visit, just really take a moment and appreciate that. It's a very unique setting for our region.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Commissioner Janapati.
Yeah, so thank you very much again for coming here and giving this presentation. I mean, it's really amazing how you're really trying to address a multitude of issues, from trash to water, and then working with these separate organizations like Valley Water and Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful, which I've worked with both of those. So, I mean, it's really amazing that's happening. So I just have a couple of questions. So I think we as a youth commission, including the environmental ad hoc that we recently set up, we're kind of looking to have like public water awareness, sort of like an education for youth. So what are some like recommendations that you would have for us as we begin?
Well, let's see here. One would be a tour, perhaps a tour. Right now, the city of San Jose partnered with Valley Water on a current purified water facility. We use that water to augment our recycled water system to make it better. Tours might be a good one. Tours of both our recycled water infrastructure, the wastewater treatment plant, where that water comes from, how it's what it looks like when it comes in, how clean it is, and then it runs through, it gets converted to recycled water, but also this facility that we partnered with Valley Water on, that's purifying the water, and to kind of see that quality of that. Those together are what we're using to take the next step forward on direct potable reuse. And then other than that, Valley Water, since we're kind of fill in and kind of help on the water supply discussion. Valley Water is our primary wholesaler. They have a lot of programs too, both on where the water goes in the creek, on creek health, but also on where the water comes from. And they'll come out, they do a lot of presentations at schools too, and at community meetings, so they can be a good resource.
Okay, yeah, that's a great recommendation. And I was also like kind of researching a little bit about water before this presentation. And I was thinking about water use in agriculture as well. So is that an area that can be potentially explored in the future, efficiently using water in agriculture?
Absolutely, and it is now. That's a big one. Agriculture uses about 80% of the water in the state, and urban areas, including us, all urban areas, we only use about 10% of the water in it. So, and then us, we're just a very, our entire county here is a very small portion of that 10%, and so, having agriculture really develop sustainable farming practices, and particularly on crops too, on the type of crops, how much water those crops use. There's a lot there that will help us as a state and really kind of manage our water supplies. The groundwater levels in the Central Valley are very low due to overpumping of supporting agriculture in the area. And so definitely more sustainable ways. And some of that technology is there, like drip systems, sprays, things like that. But a lot of areas are still flood irrigated. It's a lot of water, or flood intensive crops like pistachios and almonds are very big. If you've noticed, if you're in the area, notice orchards, that's a very big economy right now is nut trees, but they use a lot of water. And so really just more sustainable, maybe zoning or farming practices.
Okay, yeah, great. Thank you again. And I think my last question actually is one of the things that we as a youth commission are trying to address is the native plant species. The native plant species and the invasive plant species as well. So the eucalyptus tree, which has kind of taken root in California and the city, is like draining a lot of water. Is this also something that we could potentially explore? Because obviously we don't want so much water being drained from the water table.
Yes, I mean, it could. One of the ones that we are trying to champion here at the city, not necessarily on eucalyptus trees, but that is part of it. It is it's removing ornamental or non-functional turf grass, removing grass that isn't being used to play on. It doesn't serve a purpose, but not to replace that with hardscape or rocks or concrete, but to replace it with native or drought tolerant landscape. And there's a lot of benefits to adding in this native landscape. It pulls carbon out of the atmosphere. It keeps the ground cooler. It offsets urban heat island effect, just too much concrete in areas getting hot. So really our focus right now is on getting rid of that non-functional turf. Actually, about a year and a half ago, as a city, we banned the installation of new non-functional turf, in new developments. And so everything has to be native landscape going forward, unless there's a purpose for it, a playing field or recreational area.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for your time. Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Tilo.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I feel like I'm finally using my AP Environmental Science knowledge. I just had a few questions. First about the storm sewer system and just like keeping creek water specifically unpolluted. You mentioned prioritizing having housing and having that as a goal to help clean, our creeks and our water system. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about what specific actions or initiatives or collaboration is happening to ensure that we reduce the impact of, water pollution from our unhoused population.
Yeah, so currently we work extremely close with two of our city departments, which is the housing department, which is responsible to providing funding that will help build temporary or interim or emergency or even permanent shelter housing options. Affordable housing maybe is a term you might be familiar with. Another department is our Park and Recreational Neighborhood Service Department. Particularly, you might be hearing the name Beautify SJ. You might have heard that that group, and they've been instrumental in addressing trash and really minimizing the impact, the environmental impact that a lot of unhoused communities might be living in, kind of sprawled throughout our waterways. So those are within the city. And then also our department, we're just involved with creek assessments, ensuring that we're attaining our goal in how we're reducing trash. There is also, we partner with all the nonprofits that I mentioned earlier, Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful, South Bay Clean Creek Coalition, and Trash Punks. These nonprofits are instrumental because they not only help in collection of trash, but they're also engaging with the community and educating individuals, the importance of how we should really protect our waterways. And then also, we do, we indirectly, these partnerships work or these departments work with either the county in providing additional services, other nonprofits that, not only that are focused on sanitary needs, but their social service needs, if they're anything in particular that they may need in order, to really thrive as they find housing options. And then also Valley Water. Valley Water is also involved in that, in identifying where we have, trash that might be, through, collected within our jurisdictions. So we do collect that way.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
And my other question was about affordability, specifically water supply, that second part of the presentation. So could you go into a little bit more detail about how underneath this new plan, we're going to keep trying to be more affordable for residents and for businesses?
Sure. A lot of it is really kind of focusing on, when we look at big water supply projects, and I think that was the focus there with inflation, a lot of costs. We've seen a lot of cost increases on material and labor coming out of COVID, and they haven't gone down. And so we have higher costs. And in the water industry, the revenue that we generate to pay for the infrastructure, to keep it working, regulatory compliance, water quality, all of that's from water sales. So we sell water, of which we're selling less, especially during droughts, and just as general good practice is to sell less. And so it kind of creates this self-fulfilling prophecy where we'll have less and less revenue to pay for what we need to pay for to keep water systems in check, at the same time that we're looking at building new water supply projects. So it's going to really come down to going forward, when exactly do we need that new water? How much is the cost? How much state or federal assistance is available? There is a lot, and there can be a lot for both. How much do we get? There's also loans, low interest loans, that can push the payment schedule for a project out 20 or even 30 years. That'll lower the today's cost down. So identifying the project, making sure that it's needed right now, and then finding a good financing strategy for it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, Commissioner Pradeep Kumar.
First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. I thought it was really informative, and I definitely learned a lot about the current plans. And I had a very specific question on the direct discharge trash control plan, like associated with unsheltered homeless populations. So one of the main takeaways I saw from the slide was that you were planning to increase sanitary services and housing to those who are living besides waterways. So my question is, how much will it impact like the grand total of the trash reduction in waterways? Like how effective will it be?
It will be significant, because a lot of the trash that we do collect, we far exceed the tonnage that we're supposed to collect minimum. So there's certain requirements that we're supposed to be collecting. And so unfortunately, I don't have the numbers with me right now, but it is, we have, I will say, prior to the pandemic, we were very successful in minimizing the impacts of encampments that were residing in the waterways. And we did have a very robust program, but the scale, unfortunately, after the pandemic really just exacerbated the resources that we had. And so we needed to think of something more comprehensive. It will take time. I mean, we have to be realistic, because you do need to properly out of dignity for any human to provide the appropriate housing that they need and ensure that they have the services that they need. But, we are committed, and we really want to ensure that people are safe. And also, there's areas where flooding occurs in our waterways, and with a lot of the improvements that have been happening with Valley Water, it's even more so important to ensure that people are safe and not living in the waterways. So we do think that our approach will be successful. And also, with all of you advocating the importance of really helping and protecting, I think that goes a long way.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Mishra.
Hi, this is District 1 Commissioner Mishra. Thank you guys so much for your wonderful and informative presentation. I definitely, again, learned a lot. I actually had a quick question on one of the provisions that you brought up, specifically C12 on PCBs. I wanted to clarify what the provision specifically does to redevelop the old industrial areas and what impacts are associated with the PCBs in the waterways.
So with regards to how we address PCBs, I mean, ultimately, the best option is to redevelop it. And when I mentioned about the green infrastructure, that is really a very well-engineered opportunity to take any discharges that come from the site to collect. PCBs is not transported through water, it's actually through the sediment. And so that's why it's really important. Do you mind repeating your second question? Making sure I answered.
Oh yeah, my second question was the impacts that are associated with the PCBs in waterways.
So in the bay itself, because of the size of our bay, I mean, the PCB itself is diluted. However, many of the concentration is coming directly from an urban environment. And so, and more specifically, these are in older industrial areas that used to actually produce, and these are legacy pollutants. So it may not be the current company that's out there that's actually producing this. And so, what can we do to really ensure that these PCBs that are coming from their properties or in vicinity, we do need to clean our pipes. That's one option in order to, but these are contaminated soils, so there's a proper way to dispose of that. So it is quite laborious and time consuming. However, from the regulatory agency, because these are not mandates that the city are creating, this is coming from our federal and state. They have a goal to really reduce the amount of PCBs in our bay. And so they do have a timeline that we do need to comply with. So hopefully that answers your questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mascarenas.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to thank you guys for your presentation. I think that the slide with the shared responsibilities of the government departments and what they do with the trash and their shared responsibilities was very informative because that process can be convoluted. One question which I had was that when we're looking towards these projects with recycled water, is there any like projections or data on how much that'll help our water supply? And if that will meet like the developments in the world, like climate change and things like that. So I was wondering if it addressed those needs and sort of took that into consideration as well.
Let's see here. It's not much. We use a lot of water, I think. So we, as a city, we use something around, to throw a number out there, something around 180,000 acre feet a year of water. As a reference point, 180,000 acre feet of water. Right now on recycled water to the three cities, we're selling about 13,000 acre feet of water. So, maybe about 5% of our usage of recycled water. And our goal is to keep growing by another 10,000 acre feet. But again, that's really low compared to the total volume of water that we're using. Water conservation, I think, is our primary one. About 60% of the water that we use is outside irrigation, our front yards, front of businesses. And so while we're increasing the use of recycled water and trying to do it in a cost affordable way, we're also going back on the saving water side and using it appropriately. So it's kind of a dual strategy.
All right, so just jumping in with one quick question. I wanted to know what the ratio of recycled water to pure drinking water usage in public parks or community gardens was.
I don't know if I have that exact statistic other than, right now it's about 5% of our water supply. We have maybe about a third to a half of parks and schools connected. Let me back that off a little bit. About a quarter of parks and schools. I'm thinking of the other cities that we're serving water to, and so It's not much in San Jose. Again, it's really just about 5% of our water usage is what it's recycled water. And our goal to just keep growing on that by another 5% or so.
Okay, thank you again. Does anyone else have any other questions? And thank you. Then we'll be moving on to item B, YWCA, Golden Gate, Silicon Valley, and Tea Club.
Alrighty, good evening, commissioners. Thank you so much for having us. We're really grateful to be here. My name is Eli Neal. I go by any and all pronouns, and I'm a prevention specialist at the YWCA. I'm here today with my coworkers.
Hi, y'all. My name is Maggie Ball. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the data and evaluation manager at YWCA.
And hello, my name is Erica Wiley. My pronouns are she and her, and I am the social justice program manager at YWCA.
So we at the YWCA are a nonprofit that advances racial and gender equity, especially by supporting survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, and other forms of gendered and racialized violence. We are always eager for community partners, so thank you again for inviting us today. Please take note of our 24/7 support line. You can reach out at any time to ask any questions you may have. And also, please take our cards and contact info before we leave for the evening so that you can follow up with anything else you might want to. So a little bit more about us. The YWCA has bolstered social movements in the United States and elsewhere for over 160 years. This has included movements like voting rights, civil rights, affordable housing, pay equity, healthcare reform, and more. Our YWCA was founded in 1905. It was one of the Bay Area's first multi-service agencies for survivors and is now the area's largest rape crisis center. In 2019, YWCA Silicon Valley and YWCA San Francisco and Marin combined. So you can see now that our service area includes Santa Clara County as well as SF and Marin. So our mission is to eliminate racism, to empower women and others who are marginalized on the basis of gender identity, to advocate for social justice, to help families and to strengthen communities. And we do this by developing leaders, by advocating for bold systems change, and by promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all people. Our departments provide a wide range of services, which are evidence-based, trauma-informed, and survivor-centered. So in our social services department, we provide advocacy for survivors as well as provide legal services, crisis support, emergency shelter, and childcare. In our social justice department, where myself, Erica, and Maggie work, we provide school-based programming. We also provide community outreach and education and supplement advocacy work in partnership with our other departments in our organization. And then lastly, our healing center provides counseling services in both group and individualized forms at a sliding scale. So to talk a little bit more, while our organization performs many roles, we have primarily worked in our education and outreach areas. So how do we do that? We have provided gender-based violence prevention education throughout Santa Clara County for over 10 years, especially in Evergreen School District and the Eastside Union High School District. We present on a variety of topics, as you can see. We have awareness presentations pertaining to child abuse prevention, cyber safety, healthy relationships, domestic violence and prevention, consent, and sexual violence and prevention. In addition to our presentations where we visit schools, we also have ongoing groups that recur at schools. For example, middle schools, high schools, and specific identity-based groups such as for boys and for LGBTQIA+ students. So within these presentations and groups, we provide both inward-facing and outward-facing services for students and their communities. And we prioritize opportunities for learning and empowerment. So this image shows one example of one of our many awareness campaigns. This is featuring Oak Grove High School students who together took a pledge to listen without judgment to people in need, to be a helping hand, and to speak up to end teen dating violence. So this was a pledge that was circulated and signed onto both by students and then by others that the students were able to contact. One of our most beloved programs is T Club, which stands for Teens Ending Abuse. T Club was created in 2019, and it started with 3 groups at Oak Grove, Piedmont Hills, and Andrew Hill, which are the schools that I currently service, as I've gotten the baton passed from Maggie here. And we're now partnering with 16 schools for the 2023 to 2024 academic year. So our mission in T Club, which I have copies for you all should you be interested, is to instill confidence, validate strengths, and equip young individuals with knowledge and resources so that through our collaborative work, youth build upon their advocacy skills to recognize and address social injustice, envisioning a future where youth voices are valued, amplified, and integral to shaping a compassionate and inclusive community.
So T Club is an educational group, it's an awareness group, and then it's a systems change group. Our students learn from us about the issues related to gender-based violence. They spread the knowledge through the campaign Eli just showed to you, and then they ask the question, what can we do better in our community? A lot of that starts, these groups involve freshmen all the way up to seniors. So we start by learning a little bit about what is policy? How does it affect us? We read different policies that are implemented in their schools that they might have to interact with on a daily basis. And then we start to explore what they would like to see. My favorite question to ask is, okay, what's a problem that you're experiencing? What's something that you would like to do or like to see change that references that you are experiencing, just you, just one person? And then, okay, now let's have a discussion about how that may affect a group as a whole. We are not isolated in our experiences as human beings. Somebody else in our community and in our world is experiencing those things too. And so how might we envision a singular problem that we are experiencing as one person in terms of a more social or societal problem? And once we've established that there might be a community experiencing the same thing, we can ask the question of what might a solution that serves the purposes of them as students look like on their campus. And when it comes to defining those solutions, we always encourage our students to think about in what we call our SMART goals. So with our students at Oak Grove, Piedmont, Andrew Hill, when they returned to their campuses after the pandemic, one of the problems they were experiencing was access to restrooms. And it was for a lot of different reasons. It was cleanliness, it was TikTok trends around stealing things from restroom facilities, but it was also about feeling safe and feeling like they could have a space on campus that they felt comfortable with throughout the day. And so they set out to improve access. You see my okay goal when it comes to SMART goals was we're going to increase access to these gender neutral restrooms. Then you have to beg the question of, okay, what does improving access actually mean? How can we measure it? How are we going to know when we succeed or when we fail? How are we going to know that we're making progress? And how are we going to know that the changes that we're making are the changes that the rest of the campus actually want? And so you think about this in terms of SMART. You want it to be specific as you can be when it comes to something that you want to change. You want to be able to measure that success, right? I'm a data person. What might that look like to be successful? How are we going to demonstrate maybe need in a measurable way, but also success in a measurable way? You also want to set yourself up for success by making it attainable. And you can do that by one, making it relevant, proving that it is important, but also by making it a time-bound goal. Some things are going to seem so unattainable when you don't have a timeline on it, or are going to seem virtually impossible when that timeline is too short. So what is going to be reasonable, time-bound, measurable, and specific enough that we can say, yes, we can do this, and here's how we're going to. And that was the conversation that we at the YWCA had with those T Club students. And so we kind of stepped through it. All right, what's our timeline going to be? Okay, 2023, 2024. And then to get to that best, what is relevant, what is specific enough, and what is attainable, that was where my students had a bit of a run-in. What does the community want? What can we actually shoot for? And what systems can we actually change? And that comes to knowing what the systems are, but also what the needs are. And so that is done through what we consider an assessment process, the asking of questions and remaining curious around the things that you want to solve. You want to establish that the problem exists, that there is a desire to change it in whatever community you're interacting with. And then you want to collect input from the members of the community and monitor that system, figure out what's going on, and really get inside of that problem in order to understand it and find solutions. And so that's what our students did over the 2021 to 2022, and then the beginning of that 2022-23 school year last year. So I have a couple examples here of the different things that they could do and you could do should you want to tackle a problem in a community that you're a part of. One option is what we called our school climate survey. This happened in all 3 schools. We partnered it with our teen dating violence awareness campaign. So there was a system around, hey, come to our table, learn a little bit about what we do as T Club, and then answer these survey questions for us. We're trying to change something. We found that about 70% of our 339 respondents did not know where their gender neutral restroom was located on campus. How can you say you have equal access to a gender neutral facility if the location is unknown? If you don't know how to access, then access is not equitable. It's not equal. It's not the same as a gendered space. If I don't know where that gender neutral space is, but I can tell you where the gendered spaces are, that's not the same. They also asked the question, what would make you as a student feel more safe and comfortable? This was their first step at, yes, we are a group of, between the 3 schools, 30 or 40 students on 3 separate campuses. We might be this voice championing this project, but we want to make sure that our solution is holistic, is what the community wants. And so when asking this question, they explored maybe the solutions that they wouldn't have gotten from just their small group and my probing questions, but what does the community want to see in terms of these spaces? And using those 300+ responses, they were able to start creating that specific attainable goal around what were we going to do. They also did what we called a bathroom assessment. This was a structured, I called it investigative mission, in which students are going to go around to the different bathroom spaces, identify them. What is the access system? Is it unlocked? Is it locked? If it is locked, where do I get the key? How convenient or inconvenient is the system in order for me to get access to a space that I need that affirms my identity on campus? Had them take notes. Again, these are all things and items and tools that we could bring to an administration, to a school board down the line that one establishes the problem, but also starts to coin a solution. And so part 1, I consider it part 1 of the solution was launched the beginning of this academic school year at Oak Grove and Piedmont Hills High Schools, in which they launched what we considered an accessing gender neutral restroom website. And at Piedmont, it also went into the school's handbooks that says, here are the restrooms on campus. Here is how you access them. Here is who you ask if you have a question. And all of that information is now located in the handbook and on a website should a student need to ask or to find out. They don't have to always use their voice, though I would love that, right? They can just go and look at a website, pull it up on their phone and find the answer right there on the website that they have to go to all the time to figure out what time different things are happening on campus or other rules. I like to always say that it's an ongoing project. This is phase 1. The students themselves have actually created a 5 or 6 page document full of recommendations that they're hoping to implement throughout the next couple of years and a way to move things forward, and have founded at Oak Grove specifically, they founded their own advocacy club separate from our youth groups to further that goal. I think that's all we have for you today. I'm happy to take questions. We're all happy to take questions. Thank you so much for having us here.
All right, we'll open it up to public comment first. and we'll move to commissioner discussion. And I'll start off by saying thank you guys for spending the time out of your evening and coming here to present this to us. I think that the fact that you guys are gathering responses and taking action is really empowering and inspiring, and I'm very happy that you guys are doing this. One question that I had was, how do you see the Youth Commission's role in collaborating with the YWCA?
So many ways, so many ways. T Club is a youth, it is a youth group. We are the adults in the room to facilitate the conversation, but it is what we want the youth to do. So handful of different things when it comes to gender neutral access restroom work, like the students have been doing at our groups, and whatever communities you're involved in, figure out where they are, figure out how to access them. If the answer is it's difficult, if the answer is it's not simple and easy, then ask the question, how do I make it better? And the YWCA is here to support you in that work. We're also always interested in getting our services, our prevention education out into other communities. If you have somewhere that could benefit from education around sexual violence prevention, dating violence prevention, cyber safety, or could even benefit from one of our more intensive groups where we sit and we have deeper conversations and we start this problem solving together. We're always looking for partners to bring that to other spaces in the communities.
Thank you. We'll move on to Commissioner Singh.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for that informative presentation. So one question I had is on the slide where it shows the school climate survey. I noticed that it was mostly it was Piedmont Hills and yeah, and like 2 other high schools. And I just had a question, like in the foreseeable future, is there a plan to expand surveys such as this one to other schools and other districts around San Jose?
So the reason it's at these 3 schools is these are the 3 T clubs that started back in 2019 that were at this phase of the program. So that is why it was at these 3. As Eli mentioned, we're now in 16 schools. And so the hope is that all of those T clubs will get to the process. I bet this was the project that these 3 schools chose. The T clubs of the other schools will have the option to choose a different project to try for something else, in which of course we would most likely have to do some research like this, like these students did, whether it's this survey or a completely new one focused on what they're seeing as the issue on their specific campus, will be up to the groups.
All right, thank you so much.
Commissioner Megan Lung.
All right, thank you so much, Erica, Eli, and Maggie for coming to present to us on this very important topic that's on our work plan this year. Hearing about what your organization has done inspires me genuinely. And one of the issues besides gender issue bathrooms, policy-wise, is that in the Bay Area, it's considered a human trafficking hotspot. And one of my ideas is to add signs in bathrooms that allow hotlines to be called when one finds themselves in a dangerous situations. I could see this being implemented in public libraries and such. And of course, the YWCA hotline would be there, I'd imagine. I'm still in the process of researching this, but I was hoping to get your guys' opinions on writing some policy recommendation like this.
Yes. Yes, we are happy to collaborate. We'd be ecstatic. I say we, they're in charge now. But yes, that sounds awesome. Do you have specifics? Yeah.
Yeah, so one aspect of the project that the T students have been working on with relation to gender neutral restroom access is to include signage within bathrooms that would detail like safety plans and resources that people could access for situations that may arise in restrooms. Because as we've collaborated not only with the students, but also the administrators and the adults who also use restroom facilities at schools, they have had their own considerations. Maggie mentioned like the TikTok thing. Like, I know it was a little while ago, but like if a facility is damaged, that could be a safety consideration. Another aspect, like students feeling like they have enough privacy in restrooms based on how they're constructed. So signage is something that is a part of the work that we're doing, and it would be really good for us to keep in communication about that because we have our 24/7 support line, of course, and other resources that we will post up in different places, but we're constantly learning more about which policies are at which locations for what can be posted where and how. So it continues to be a development, and it could absolutely be an opportunity for partnership.
That's amazing to hear, and I'm looking forward to connect on that after this meeting.
All right, Commissioner Telam.
Thank you so much for coming in information. Love the hotline, the crisis hotline. I know people have used it and who have really benefited from it. I had two questions. My first one was about what T Club has maybe done to try to work on ensuring that there are free pads and tampons in school. That's personally like a policy priority of mine, something that we've kind of tried to work on in the past as a youth commission and have passed at the youth commission level, but haven't really, gotten to a higher level in terms of that specifically. So I just want to get more information on what maybe the YWCA has done to work with students on that specific goal, or just to kind of get more information to, again, like inform what me and like my youth advisory council does in the future in terms of that issue of period poverty.
Awesome question. At Andrew Hill, those students were particularly interested in that issue. It is a piece of, I would say, their bigger objective of lists. It hasn't been one that we've been able to tackle in the forefront. However, they did do one pilot. We were working with a social worker at that school, and she disclosed that they had access. The school had a lot of access to period products. It was just a matter of where do they go and potentially designing a system around keeping them refilled and needing to potentially be a little bit more strict. So that's something that I'm hoping that they'll continue to pursue around, okay, if we have access to these products from nonprofits who donate them and other things like that, what is the system for putting them into place? One of the students, or I should say the whole group, actually, what they did for about a week last year was they took some of these products that were on campus and they placed them in each of the restroom spaces and were responsible for what I called monitoring intake. One of the risks expressed by administration was that you're going to provide them and it's going to become this hoarding thing where they're going to be there for a day and someone's going to take the entire box and then they're going to be gone. And that can end up being, they were worried about waste, but also it not getting to where it needed to be compared to if the products were, in a location with a staff member and the students went and asked when they needed it, versus just having them out for free. And what the students actually found throughout the week, this 1 week pilot, so how much credit can you give it? I'm not really sure, but there was no hoarding. There was a whole week. They laid out a handful of products. Students took them as needed. And they did not find that within a day they were gone. Within 2 days, it was actually about 2.5 weeks before all of the products had been used, which was contrary to what the administration had been expecting. And so I'm hopeful that with continued pilots like that at different sites, we'll be able to discover what the cadence is and the placement and all of those things to start to begin to address that problem.
What school was that again?
I was at Andrew Hill.
Andrew Hill. Okay, cool. And then my second question was sort of similar to try to gain more like information on what T Club has done and like what students want. But one of the needs that was presented on the slide up there was no more kids smoking. Has that been something that T Club has also worked on? I'm curious, like, what are the ideas for that? What has been the response to that? Have there been, pilots or any other like action taken on that?
That has not been one we've been exploring yet. I do know that some schools, not the district that we're in, are exploring different sensor systems for bathrooms, but we haven't done anything with that yet in our district or with our schools.
Thank you. That's all for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, and then Commissioner Bansal.
Okay, hi. Thank you for your presentation. So I'm the communications director for the Youth Commission, and I was just wondering if there's any way that we can help outreach, just like anything that the YWCA does, or if there's any way we can partner to help get the word around and just spread more information in general.
Okay, I'll put up the slide. It was after the question slide. I kind of forgot about it. We have handfuls of social media that you can amplify for sure. Different things get posted on there. The youth page is at T Club SV. That's the one that the prevention specialists within the social justice department monitor and use to interact with young people. We provide information there relevant to young people, but also during different months and for different awareness campaigns, our youth groups participate in creating the content that might be most useful to their peers. So different projects and things, should there be a survey that needs to be completed for input, that kind of stuff would go up on the @T Club SV Instagram. And then your YWCA, the nonprofit as a whole, also has a Facebook and an Instagram and a Twitter that you could use to stay up to date, but also to share out information.
Okay, thank you so much.
Commissioner Loon.
Sorry, my bad. I forgot to ask this. One of my policy priorities for this year is potentially looking into writing a memo, a recommendation for schools to stock Narcan to like address the fentanyl crisis and the overdoses we've had in the past. I'm curious if that is a conversation that YWCA has started, or if that's an issue that you have seen with your work with students before.
In terms of it being an issue on campuses, that has been communicated to me by the staff that I work with. However, our T Clubs really focus narrowly on things that affect gender-based violence. So it's not something that they have started to tackle quite yet, but it's definitely something that the students are aware of and advocating for outside of our groups.
Totally. Thank you for the insight.
Commissioner Mishra.
Hi, my name is I am Anya Mishra from District 1. So first of all, thank you guys so much for your wonderful and informative presentation. And along with Megan and a few other commissioners, I'm actually part of the Youth Commission's newly made Sexual Harassment Ad Hoc Committee. An area for policy proposals that my Youth Advisory Council was interested in was providing free tampons and pads, but specifically in different locations such as middle schools, homeless shelters, prisons, and other facilities like that. So how feasible do you believe it is to implement a proposal like this, considering prior efforts of the YWCA and the T Club?
All change is a challenge. However, where we have found our most success is through collaboration. My students take their voices and then they find what we consider champions. So finding a community to support you that's multifaceted. You're a group of youth leaders who are demanding action, but partnering with other organizations and deepening that collaboration to demonstrate. Part of the reason we do the survey is to demonstrate that it's not just the voice of, the 15 to 30 students, but it's actually the larger voice that needs something and that needs change. And the more you can establish that need exists and provide solutions that have been thought through and thought out and back up those solutions, the more likely you are to have success. And so that would be my biggest thing in the way that we have found success with our students. Sometimes you think you have a champion or an adult champion or an administrator because we work in schools, right? And they're supportive, but you still need more voices. And we have found that the more people we talk to, there is someone out there who will go to bat. And so finding those people is incredibly vital to success.
Thank you. Commissioner Pradeep Kumar.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Commissioner Pradeep Kumar, and thank you so much for your presentation. So first of all, I go to Presentation High School, and one of the biggest things they focus on this year is improving the mental health of a lot of students. And they've opened up a new wellness center, and they have like counseling and everything with a lot of support. And I saw on one of your slides that you had counseling services like the Healing Center. So I wanted to ask if there were any of these implemented in school. I'm not sure if I missed this, but if there were any healing centers implemented in schools, and if there's any work that you've done towards that.
Yeah, so many of the schools that we partner with do have wellness centers. I'm not sure if they all do, but the ones that I've visited have. It's really exciting to see because that was something that for me as a student in Idaho, we didn't have that kind of thing. But I'm not sure that it's everywhere. I'll be excited to see it happening more. There's something else I was thinking to say, but it just slipped my mind. I'm so sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much.
So we do have, our counseling center does provide counseling services in the San Jose Unified School District. So we do have counselors who do come out and provide support groups for survivors on campus. And it's something definitely that we can connect you with if interested.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That reminded me as well that we've been reaching out to other campuses. So Stanford is a campus that we've recently started partnering with more to do that sort of like counseling stuff as well. And then we also have specific like youth support groups and also support groups for like young adults who are members of the LGBTQIA+ community. So we're looking to build that capacity as well.
Okay, and also I have one more question. What is like a specific aspect of the counseling services? Like what do you generally offer in a service?
So every survivor is different in their needs. We do have that individual support, and then we do have support groups. So we'll have survivors of sexual violence, a support group for survivors of domestic violence, different age range. So we have a lot of options for survivors.
Thank you.
Commissioner Megan Loom.
Okay, sorry, this is a completely different topic now, but it's still related. For me, I care a lot about know your rights workshops because a lot of times in the worst case scenarios, someone becomes a victim and they don't know where they can get help or how legally they can get help. And when they go to their schools, it often gets mishandled. So I also cared a lot about educating like school staff sometimes on how to handle victim stories. Are there any initiatives like that to really connect with the school authorities, tell them what sort of like trauma-informed resources should be given to students, and also like, you know your rights, Title IX, stuff like that?
So we have presentations that we can tailor to school staff and to administrations and to teachers around interacting with young people who experience dating violence and sexual violence. We also, in our newest iterations of our presentations, are including Title IX information to be disseminated in the East Side District to, it's happening with the 11th graders and the 9th graders, in which they're getting at the end of each presentation a bit of that know your rights content around who is your Title IX coordinator, who would you talk to if you wanted to handle this within the school administration, but also that they have rights to leave the school system to handle things should they wish. And most of our presentations also provide information around getting a forensic exam should a survivor need it, and where to go in the Bay Area for those, as well as ways to just, get medically checked out and things like that should a survivor not want to go the medical route. So we do, in all of our one-off content, really focus on what someone could do and the different resources that they have. And so that's one of the ways that we address that.
I have a follow-up question. So this was something I initially considered, and also thank you for your response for that. It's good to hear those sorts of prevention-based information is being spread. But initially I was like interested in sort of a self-defense thing. But the more I research, it seems like it's a very small solution to something that's bigger, more deeply rooted. So I would just like to ask for your guys' opinions on sort of those things. Even if it's like trauma-informed self-defense, is it worth spending the time and money on something like that?
It's a great tool to have in your box, right? It's a great tool to have, but it's not going to prevent violence. So our programming really is primary prevention, and we want to stop the violence before it happens and really get to the root of violence through education, right? And through talking to peers, bringing this knowledge to students so they know, again, where this, how the violence is starting, so we can really prevent it. Self-defense, again, it's a great thing to know, but it's not gonna prevent violence from happening.
I'd also like to give a quick nod to one of our most recent pilot programs. We're working, the director of our department is leading it very heavily, so I don't have all that much knowledge to go on, but we're working on restorative practice work and circle work, in which we're not handling crimes of the sexual violence nature, but just in terms of like school conduct, fighting, ways to sit in a circle and have a conversation and solve conflict in non-punitive ways where we're learning and we're reforming. Because one of the goals of our job, we always say, is if we do our job well enough in prevention, then the harm stops. And so restorative practice is one of those ways that someone who is offending or is committing a wrong can learn and make repair to a relationship. Again, not necessarily with relation to gender-based violence work, but other offenses in which we're building a culture that is less punitive and more solution-oriented.
Thank you for your guys' answers. Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions? Then we'll be moving on to our next item. Thank you guys for your presentation.
Thank you.
First up, we have Miss Laura Buzo to present us for the city manager's office.
Yes, good evening, commissioners and community. Laura Buzo, Assistant City Manager in the City Manager's Office, and I'm supporting Deputy City Manager Angel Rios with the development of the Children Youth Services Master Plan. Just wanted to provide you with two quick updates. One of them is that we are looking at having a joint meeting between the City of San Jose City Council and the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. It will be scheduled for Thursday, November 9th, from 1:30 to 4 o'clock. And the purpose of that is to provide an update on the Children Youth Services Master Plan, but also to discuss further opportunities for collaboration so that we can leverage our efforts to more effectively serve vulnerable children, youth, and their families in very specific communities that we know have long-term and generational barriers and challenges. So we will be talking, having that conversation. It will be hybrid and virtual, so you are welcome, and we encourage you to call in if you'd like, if you're not able to attend in person. And the agenda is still in draft form because we are waiting for final approval. But we invite you to join us. And then just again, wanted to share that we are finalizing the Children Youth Services Master Plan document. And so this meeting on the 9th will be really important as well to provide any additional input and feedback as we finalize the document. And that's all my updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Buzo. Next, we have Alex Dersh reporting for Councilmember Kamei's office.
There we go. Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's good to see you all again. I'm going to provide a report from the Office of Vice Mayor Rosemary Kamei, her being the council liaison to the Youth Commission of San Jose. So first, I'm going to begin with a few highlights of recent actions that the City Council has taken since the last Youth Commission meeting. On September 26th at the City Council meeting, on item 3.3, City Council accepted an audit report on recommendations for improving efficiency and effectiveness of city policies and operations. So a really broad-based audit report on many different departments. And on item 8.1 at that same meeting, Council accepted a report on progress the city has made towards its housing and community development goals, specifically tied to federal grant funds. At the City Council's October 3rd meeting, item 6.1, the City Council approved the eventual creation of a city-owned electric utility, amending the city's code to include that municipal utility in the city's code, and beginning the process by directing staff to analyze what that utility could look like in its final form. On item 8.1, City Council expressed its intent to create a new pedestrian mall on North San Pedro Street between West Santa Clara and St. John Streets. At the City Council's October 17th meeting, On item 4.1, City Council accepted the San Jose Police Department's plan for an enhanced communication and coordination strategy between SJPD, council offices, and community stakeholders about street closures, and traffic diversions for planned large crowd events. And on item 8.3, at that same meeting, City Council approved the creation of a mobile home quick build housing site at Via del Oro for unhoused residents located in District 2 in San Jose, with priority to unhoused residents who live nearby. I'd also like to share a couple policy updates related to projects in the city related to housing and planning and transportation. One would be the city's housing element. Staff is working to make changes in response to an August letter from the state of California's Housing and Community Development Agency that said that the city's housing element needed further revisions. And the city is on track to resubmit a housing element at the end of October. In addition, something relevant, especially to District 1 in San Jose, Stevens Creek Community Advisory Group recently had their first meeting. Through the discussions and group breakouts, community members, government staff, and community participants were able to have their voices heard on the best future for the Stevens Creek corridor. This feedback will be considered by all the various agencies and elected officials involved as they plan for the future of Stevens Creek Boulevard. And our office wants to also share a opportunity coming up on Wednesday, November 1st from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Work to Future is having a career fair, their fall career fair at San Jose City College. It's free to attend. There's also free parking, and they encourage you to bring your resume. And you can check out more information about the career fair at bit.ly/fall-career-23. That's bit.ly/fall-career-23. Thank you all, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you for your report and for staying the whole time. Next up, we have Ms. Lauren Hawkins for the PRNS report.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lauren Hawkins, Recreation Superintendent for the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. Just wanted to share a few updates from PRNS this evening. As a department, we have quite a few recruitments coming out. We have currently 4 active recruitments. One is the assistant to the director, community activity worker, a park ranger, and an ongoing recruitment for student and graduate interns. Coming around the corner with council updates. Actually, tomorrow on October 24th, PRNS will be receiving a proclamation from Councilmember Devora Davis for Lights On After School and 15 years of the Rock After School program. So if you are available, we would love to see you virtually celebrate with us or in person in council chambers tomorrow. Also coming up on the 9th of November, in collaboration, with the San Jose Public Library, PRNS will be providing an update on the work we've done with the education and digital literacy policy as a part of our annual reports. And in terms of the divisions for the departments, tomorrow there will also be a ribbon cutting. So if you're available from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Mariposa Park will be unveiled to the community, and that is in District 7 with Councilmember Bien Doan. So that should be a great turnout for the community. For the recreation division of PRNS, it is fall time, so there's quite a few events for those looking for family fun. So check out our social media. There's quite a few events happening this Friday. Just to name a few, Willow Glen Community Center is having their spooktacular egg hunt. Seven Trees Community Center is having their trunk or treat event, to name a few. Also this week across the departments, as I mentioned, the division will be celebrating the Rock After School 15th anniversary and Lights On After School celebration. This week is also College Day on the 26th, promoting higher education and just general awareness of life after high school. On the 26th as well will be our senior safari at Happy Hollow Park and Zoo. And just a reminder to folks that on November 10th, community centers will be closed in observance of Veterans Day. Our community service division is still taking responses for the community survey and shaping the neighborhood. That link I will put in the chat in just a moment. So if you have not had the opportunity to share your feedback with the department, please do so via that link. And all this information, of course, is found on our department website and Facebook page as well. Excuse me. Lastly, within our Parks Division, there's quite a few community events happening on the 28th. The West Evergreen Park is having a cleanup day from 8:45 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pre-registration is required. So if you're looking to get out into some new parks within the city, that's a great way to do so. If you also are looking to, advance your green thumb, on the 28th of October, there's a composting basic workshop from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Everett Eddie Souza Park. Pre-registration is also required for that as well. The Parks Division is working on a prototype dog park with Public Works and their contractor with the goal of constructing new or updating dog parks, and hope to have that completed shortly. And last but not least, there's a ranger station that is currently underway with Valley Water, and the Army Corps of Engineers will be providing their feedback on this new ranger station. And with that, that is all I have for the PRNS updates, but I'm happy to stick around if there's any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins, for all of your updates. Next up, we have Ms. Vidya Kilambi for San Jose Library Report.
Thank you. My name is Vidya Kilambi, Division Manager, and I will be presenting the library update. October is Digital Inclusion Month, and we will be celebrating digital inclusion at the San Jose Libraries. In conjunction with the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, we're hosting a series of events, including Internet Safety and Security, Computer Basics, using Google Drive and Google Maps, and much more. Learn all about it on our website, sjpl.org/DI-month. Join us with spectacular events in the next few days. I have just highlighted a couple of activities there on the slide. For a complete list of all the wonderful events happening at all our various branches, special Halloween themed crafts, story times, parades, book giveaways, a complete list is available on our website. On September 20, Lights On After School, San Jose Public Library is excited to participate in the Lights On After School, a nationwide initiative celebrating after-school programs and the important role they play in the lives of children, families, and our communities. San Jose City Hall will be illuminated in support of this initiative on Thursday, October 26th. Explore the programs and resources that the library has to offer on sjpl.org/lightsonafterschool. Teenage Hughes Recording Studio has reopened with new equipment, including microphones and audio mixer and headphones. Compatible personal equipment and instruments can be plugged in as well. Staff is also providing new programming, and the recording studio is available 7 days a week during Teenage Hughes open hours. On September 26th, the San Jose Public Library launched its new and improved sjpl.org website, prioritizing user friendliness. Its features tailored discovery, seamless browsing, and a fresh design. Feedback from staff and patrons during the site previews shaped all its revisions. We thank the library's web team for their tremendous efforts and success in the launch of the new website. Explore further on the new sjpl.org. All San Jose Public Library branches will be closed for Veterans Day on Friday, November 10th. The library will resume normal operating hours on Saturday, November 11th. That concludes my update to the commission. Please let me know if you have any questions. Happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Kalami, for your presentation. And thank you again for staying the whole time. Next up, we have our commission chair report. So I have a couple things to point out. We have our Yak Social on Saturday, November 4th in San Carlos. The event will last 2 hours and the theme will be fall flannel. Those of you who are going to receive some very cool Youth Commission flannel merch. And if you are planning on going but have not filled out the interest form or reached out to Megan, I suggest you do that as soon as possible. Additionally, we will also be sharing outreach materials to promote the Teen Priorities Survey. So this includes a couple flyers, which were passed out recently. We will also be posting something on Instagram for each of you to post and repost on your social medias or around your schools. And that is it for my chair report. We'll move on to the commissioners' reports and starting off with District 1 Commissioner Mishra.
Hey everyone, this is Anya Mishra, the District 1 Youth Commissioner. My first update is regarding my District 1 Youth Advisory Council. So we recently conducted officer elections for the positions of Chair, Vice Chair, Secretary, Outreach, and Webmaster. At our very first officer social event of the year, I met all my officers, delegated specific tasks to each member of the officer team, and set deadlines to get things rolling. My chair and vice chair collaborated to make a form that asked our members for policy proposals, event ideas, and potential organizations and local communities that we could partner with in the future, which helped us begin brainstorming and finalizing our work plan for this fiscal year. One tentative policy proposal that my YAC had was to provide free menstrual products in middle schools, homeless shelters, prisons, and other similar facilities, as well as reducing the stigma around periods. Furthermore, I had the opportunity to represent the Youth Commission alongside other youth commissioners at the Amity Youth Summit. During the summit, I attended workshops on financial aid and healthy relationships. And I also attended the mayor's annual State of the City event this Saturday, which was super informative and fun to attend. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Pradeep Kumar.
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of updates for this month because our next meeting for our YAC is scheduled to be Sunday, October 29th, where we're going to hold our elections for chair and vice chair and additionally finalize our rough work plan that we had set up during our first meeting. And we're going to research more on ways to get more YAC members to join and recruit them. And additionally, one of my YAC members and I, we attended the Mayor's State of the City on Saturday, October 21st, and we were able to introduce ourselves to Councilmember Jimenez's Chief of Staff. Yeah.
Okay, and then for District 3 updates, at our last YAC meeting, members began a timeline for some sort of project that they want to work on throughout the year. We also began research and gathering sources for the Green Canopies Policy Memorandum. As a group, we'll be dividing into several topics under the subject, and the memorandum is also in progress with the Environmental Advocacy Ad Hoc. Next up, Commissioner Lund.
Yeah, so I've also attended the Amity Youth Summit and State of the City recently, which were really informative events. And that was great to learn more about what the city's doing and what other organizations are doing. In terms of my YAC, we had our first in-person meeting about 2 weeks ago. We're going to have our second meeting this week. We're forming a work plan for each committee, and I'm having each of my YAC committees, which are poverty and homelessness, sustainability, safety, and social and racial equity, work on one event and one memo for the entire year at the very least. So we're working on getting that started. And also working on establishing like dates and times for our AIM conference, our Advise, Inspire, Motivate conference later on in mid 2024 probably. And then in terms of the youth participatory budgeting ad hoc, I just wanted to emphasize doing outreach to your own offices on how they can support alongside doing outreach on your own personally with the survey. And then also if you are in conversation with your council member to start talking about what YPB is and why it's important to promote the survey and youth priorities to really get that buy-in. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, Commissioner Liu.
Yeah, so October, we had the opportunity to partner with our council members office along with a lot of community-based organizations to host Culture Fest. We had over 100 attendees and we had the opportunity to empower our city's diversity through multicultural performances and connect young people to opportunities and resources. Next, we'll be hosting listening tours across District 5 in partnership with our officials, youth groups, and small and local businesses to create the space for young people to have their concerns brought up. District 5 YAC applications are rolling. So if you're interested, they're open. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bunsell.
Okay, so we too also have rolling YAC applications. So I'm just currently reviewing them and sending out emails to interested applicants. We also me and some of my YAC members are going to be attending the YAC social on November 4th. So that should be pretty fun. As for me personally, I've also joined the San Jose Youth Commission sexual assault / harassment ad hoc. So we're just gonna like wait and see what kind of interesting stuff we're gonna do. For the Youth Commission communications aspect, we have started with more consistent posts and stories, and we hope to keep that up and just keep rolling with more types of social media. Yeah.
Commissioner Megan Lund.
Okay, so District 7 YAC has had 2 successful YAC meetings with 20 members in attendance at each one. I've set up a core council in my YAC to help with the core functions of my YAC. And each member is working on policy research currently for either climate and sustainability, safety, or homelessness initiative. So we started the research process. I've had the pleasure of attending the State of the City Address with 2 of my YAC members. One of my YAC members joined me in food distribution within the unhoused community by Tully Library in my district. A few of my members are attending a Hope Service volunteer event. Some will be attending a Coyote Creek cleanup on the 19th to get a better understanding of the volunteer opportunities in San Jose. And in my broader district, I've attended and facilitated the Boba with Bean event, which is Councilmember Dwan's take on Snack with Matt by Mayor Mahan. And besides the survey ad hoc, I'm on the sexual violence ad hoc, and I'm looking forward to leveraging what we learned today in the YWCA presentation to inform our agenda in the ad hoc. Okay.
Commissioner Gonzalez Munoz.
So I have recruited I've recruited 2 new members for my YAC, thanks to Nolan. I'm also planning on trying to go to a new event with my YAC, because last week we Welch Park hosted 2 events, one for litter pickup and one for Welch Park. So we collabed with Candelas, my District 8 council member, and I invited my YAC, but unfortunately they couldn't attend. So it was like a bummer because it would have been our first YAC event. So I'm planning on re-hosting another event with my YAC, and that's my report.
Commissioner Singh.
Yeah, so this month I completed the paperwork for the after school affiliation with the YAC to increase the engagement of youth in my school. I'm in the process of writing an appeal possibly to the CSF program to validate our club to make it eligible for volunteer hours. I'm gonna begin appointing officers for my YAC and designing roles for each officer, but I'm not there yet. We've also been attempting to connect to the District 9 office and sending multiple emails to the council member to attempt to establish a consistent line of communication. And once this is made, we will be able to collaborate and create events and policies with more efficiency. And then in addition to that, I'm searching for community events and cleanups to participate in as a YAC together. And personally, I've joined the environmental ad hoc committee, and I'm planning to work in collaboration with the other commissioners with it.
Commissioner Mascarenas.
Yeah, so as far as the whole youth commission, me and Deetra presented at the Library and Education Commission about the youth commission, sort of our work plan and our goals for the upcoming year. I also attended the State of the City event, which was really fun. And outside of that, as an outreach officer, I developed a list of potential collaborations with other youth commissions and other relevant organizations as per our work plan. So identifying if it matches with ours. And as for our YAC, we're developing right now a memo on road safety. We have in the works, very initial phases, the initiative to adopt a park. We also have an event for career resources, and we're renovating our website right now. So that's what we've been doing.
Commissioner Jonapati.
Thank you. So my main update today is regarding the environmental ad hoc's first meeting yesterday. So we discussed several items, including oak restoration, green canopies, the stormwater presentation that we heard today, and our plans for this year. And I'd like to extend a thank you to the chair, vice chair, and Commissioner Singh for generously offering their support to contribute to the rehabilitation of oak trees. And I genuinely feel that your participation along with your YACs will be a driving force behind this project's success. And regarding our plans for this year, we're potentially looking to kick off a green canopies project in downtown San Jose, which will be helmed by Chair Huang, and a park cleanup. Our next meeting as an ad hoc will be in early November, where we will discuss a youth commission action item on stormwater treatment, which was what we heard today. And I think integrating all these projects together will really help the Youth Commission achieve its environmental goals that we finalized in our retreat 2 months ago. I'm also planning a citywide bio blitz for all the youth. So I'll reach out to all you commissioners with the details, and I'll be very grateful if you could promote it among your YACs. And finally, if you have any youth who you think would be a good fit for my citywide YAC, please let them know that I'm looking for candidates like them. That's it for me, and thank you very much and have a good evening.
Next, we have future agenda items. Do we have any items that are not covered in the work plan? Okay, moving on, our next commission meeting will be in person on November 27th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers. This meeting is adjourned at 8:37 p.m. About to do a motion. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I, Commissioner Singh, motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do you have any seconds?
I, Commissioner Gonzalez, second the motion.
Sorry, guys, I was so excited. Okay, meeting adjourned at 8:37 p.m.